Hello friends, welcome back to part 2 of the Q&A. At the end of the last video, said that I was going to film this part right after, so I was going to look the same, but I didn't do that. I got distracted and did something else, so it's a few days later now. I'm going to answer the next 10 questions. Hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter than the last video, but yeah, we'll just get right into it with part 2 of the post-trail Q&A. So question 11 is my favorite memory of the hike, thing or place or section of the hike or state. So this is kind of a multifaceted question. I'll try to kind of answer different ways. My favorite sections, I would say, were the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, the Highlands area, and I also really like the White Mountains. The White Mountains were just take your breath away. The Smoky Mountains are right at the beginning pretty much, so that was kind of cool and just really pretty, even though the weather was... We had good weather through the Smokies, but we also had some really bad weather. Like, there was one day where Moose and I thought we were going to get, like, blown off a ridge because it was so cold and rainy and windy, but then somehow the afternoon turned out really nice, and we had some beautiful sunny days, too, whereas other people were getting really cold stretches through the Smokies because we went through so early. So there was that. The Highlands is super cool, and it's, like, kind of a change from what you've been coming through, with just the big open balds and all that stuff, and then the Whites are just something else, just absolutely stunning. So hard but stunning. I think Franconia Ridge was probably my favorite day of the whole trail, terrain wise. Yeah, it's just fantastic. But my favorite memory of the hike, that is tough, because when I think of memory, I don't think of like the terrain or the actual trail itself. I think of like moments with people and stuff. So I can't think of a favorite memory of the whole hike. Just the whole hike is a favorite memory, honestly. Like, it's just, yeah, it's hard to pick out certain things. Question 12 is, what's next and what did you do before? I might have touched on this a little bit in previous videos, I'm not sure, but before my hike and after, I work a seasonal job as a manager at a kids' summer day camp. So that's what I do in the summers, but because I'm a manager, my season is a little bit longer than the camp counselor, so I work from about May through October. This year, because of the hike though, I only worked like beginning of June to October, so it was a little crazy in the pre-camp season in the spring because I came late because of the hike, but that's what I do. I also used to teach music at elementary schools. Like extracurricular. I wasn't a teacher with the board or anything. But as far as what's next, I'm looking to do quite a bit of travel this winter, and then I will continue to return seasonally to this best job in the world at camp. But it's actually interesting because I don't really have an answer for what's next other than travel. Eventually I would love to do another backpacking trip, like a long distance one, but I have no plans for that thus far, like I mentioned in the previous section. But it's funny because this week specifically, I've been kind of struggling with what's next. I just don't really feel like I know what I'm doing right now, which I know is common and that sort of thing, but I'm usually a person that has a lot of goals and a lot of direction, and right now I feel a little bit directionless. So we're just kind of navigating that and figuring it out. But I have the best job in the world, so that's I'm so lucky. Question 13, most important advice in the last 100 miles. Honestly, by the time we got to the last 100 miles, so first of all, you enter the 100-mile wilderness, and then if I remember correctly, there's like 12 miles after you end the 100-mile wilderness to the end of the AT, and this is if you're going northbound, of course. 100-mile wilderness is at the end. My main focus, because at that point, I mean, unless something severe happens, you've got it in the bag, right? As far as a through hike goes. So a lot of the focus was not getting injured, which is funny because I actually hurt myself in the last probably 100 miles. Like on the first day in the 100-mile wilderness, I fell on my knee, which I had done previously in the hike as well, literally on the same knee on the same spot, and I don't know how I did that. it wasn't obviously like a career-ending injury. I finished walking, but it definitely made that section harder because that day I had to take it so slow because my knee hurt so badly. So, most important advice in the last 100 miles is don't hurt yourself. Don't be stupid. Take it in. Feel all the feels. And get excited, I guess. Number 14, water crossings in Maine. Are they dangerous? I did not have any water crossings that I would consider dangerous. There were a few that were harder, but nothing dangerous. If I had been going through like even just 1 or 2 weeks earlier, I think a few of them would have been dangerous. I saw people that were ahead of me crossing things that were scary and that they had said were quite nerve-wracking, but by the time I got through, they were much less. The water was a lot lower and a lot slower. But yeah, the only thing about the water crossings in Maine is that you have to take your shoes off a lot, or you have to walk through in your shoes, which means you have wet shoes. And just be smart about it. Don't wear all your buckles on your backpack if you think that there's a chance you could fall. Go slowly, use your poles, cross with somebody if you can on the bigger ones, and that's about it. The next question is kind of similar, but how scary is Mount Washington? And I have here thunderstorm ? I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but the day that we hit Mount Washington, we had a great day. The weather was awesome. I mean, it was windy, but I don't think it's possible to be on Mount Washington without having a ton of wind. So thankfully, yeah, we had a fantastic day. It was sunny, it was warm, other than right at the top when it was a little bit windy and cold, but as it would be scary if there was weather, frankly. But as far as the climb goes, I mean, it was beautiful. It's, you know, all like rocky and stuff, as, you know, the mountains are in that area. All the presidentials are quite rocky. But yeah, it was awesome. You know what though? Mount Washington, now that I'm thinking back to it, I didn't love how touristy it was. And I know that that's such a catch-22 because I want other people to be able to like experience nature and experience these beautiful things, but then I think about them like taking the train up to the top and I'm like, oh, like you don't really deserve that. You didn't put in the work, you know? So that's tricky and definitely like a bit of a weird bias or prejudice of mine being a hiker. But yeah, you get to the top and, you know, you take a picture with the sign and like with the cairn that's up there, but then everybody else is taking a picture up there too and they just took the train. So it's weird. It was pretty, but there were better views on the trail by far. And yeah, but we had really nice weather, so it was not scary at all up there. Question 16, was I not comfortable hiking alone, or did partners just work out for me? I was perfectly comfortable hiking alone. I went out there by myself. I actually thought that I wouldn't find any hiking partners and that I would be hiking the trail, not alone as in like there aren't any people around, but alone as in I'm not really sticking with one person or a group or anything. And the only reason that I assumed that is because I had a timeline that was faster than most people. I had to hike it in 4 months. So that was the reason I thought that. And I had a short period of time between when I was hiking with Hot Moose and when I was hiking with Moment, and that's only because it worked out that way. That wasn't because I was intentionally looking for a partner to hike with or intentionally looking to stay with somebody. It just happened that I found really awesome people that were hiking a similar pace as me, and that we got along really well. And I am so lucky that I got to spend any amount of time with Moose, although it wasn't nearly as long as Moment. But the fact that I got to spend that much of the hike with Moment is something that I will forever be grateful for, because he is just a really incredible person and a really awesome hiking partner. Yeah, so question 17, would I recommend through hiking and would I do it again? I would recommend through hiking if you're into that sort of thing. If you're not, it's completely outrageous and not something that you should take on just for kicks, because you don't need to prove anything to anyone. And if that's not the type of goal that you're interested in accomplishing, then I would not recommend it, because it's totally outrageous. Would I do it again though? Absolutely. I would probably not hike. I wouldn't through hike the AT again, probably. I would go back and do sections, especially like if I was going with somebody else who wanted to do a section and was like, hey, you've done it, do you want to come? Sure, yeah, I would go back and see some stuff. Especially because I did it fast. There might be like some sections where, you know, there's like a town that I didn't get to stop in or something. So that would be cool. But I would totally through hike another trail. Again, I don't have any plans of such things as of now, but I would totally do that. But yeah, don't just try through hiking for kicks, like, unless you're actually interested in doing it, because it's quite a heinous activity at the core, but so worth it. Question 18 is going to be a really disappointing answer. The cost of my hike. I know that this is something that people are really interested in, and I'm really sorry you're not going to get an answer on this channel. If you would like to see a breakdown of somebody's cost of their hike, you're going to have to find somebody else, because I really don't know. I really did not keep track of my finances, and I am so lucky to not have to have an answer to this question. It would be interesting to know, but I can't be bothered to like look into everything and calculate it, because I just don't really care, frankly. But again, how lucky am I that I didn't have to worry about finances or budgeting or the cost of my hike the whole time. I'm very privileged to be able to hike like that, because I know a lot of people have to be very conscious of their finances while they're hiking. So I just, you keep things, you don't buy things totally unnecessarily. You don't pick the most expensive place to stay in town, unless you're like doing a special day or something. But yeah, I don't know the cost of my hike. Sorry. Question 19, did I see anyone famous on trail? I guess that depends on your definition of famous. The most type of like famous, I guess, would be other people from YouTube or social media. So the Herd Hiker, I know some of you guys came to my channel from his channel. The Herd Hiker, also known as Number 2 Pencil on the AT, also known as Russ. He's fantastic. He made a video for me like on my last few days of trail, and it was so sweet. It made me cry. I literally only hiked with him for I think 2 days, but we've kept in touch, and he calls us like his what do you call it? Our tramily for a day or something. We clicked really hard, even though it was only a couple days. So that's really cool. In fact, when this video comes out, he'll probably be just about at the end of the trail. I think he might be in Maine. I met Quadzilla in the Smokies. He is doing a calendar year Triple Crown, if you're not familiar, but yeah, I got to meet him, which was cool. Another big YouTuber I met was Jay Wanders Out. I met him at the station at 19 East. He kind of walked out and he was like, oh, are you like M or something? I saw you on YouTube. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're Jay. Yeah, hi, how's it going? So we talked about videos a little bit. And then the other person who's not on YouTube, and I don't know how many followers he has on Instagram, but the Professor, he's also doing a calendar year Triple Crown, but he's doing it with the intention of breaking the record of the most miles hiked in a year ever, like, known. So he is super cool. I got to hike with him in I think we met him the day that we crossed into Maine, I believe, if I remember correctly. We stayed with him a couple nights at shelters, one night in a motel in Bethel, Maine, and he is super rad. So those are the people I consider famous as far as the trail goes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but otherwise, no. Oh, and the New Hampshire hiker, Taylor, she commented on one of my videos. So I didn't meet her. I would love to meet her and hang out, but she commented on one of my videos, and it made me feel really good, because in preparation for hiking this year, I watched her hike last year, like start to finish, every single minute of that she filmed. So that was pretty cool. And the last question I'm going to answer in this video is, what did you miss while on trail? The answer to that is tricky because I missed a lot of things, but kind of simultaneously nothing. Um, as like, what did I miss while on trail? I mean, a good shower is always good. I talked about that in the last video, like how grateful you are for hot running water. Um, but I wouldn't say that I like truly missed it, except for on the cold days. It was it was nice to have a hot shower. So yeah, sure. It's like it's really the simple things. I'm not going to say that I missed like decadent food or anything because I got to eat town food all the time. But mostly I would just say I missed my people, you know, like I missed just the feeling of being home. And that is interesting because I've never been homesick in my whole life. I went to overnight camp for weeks and weeks and didn't, you know, miss my parents, so to say. Like, obviously I like hanging out with them, but I wasn't like, oh, I want to go home to my mom or anything like that. Or and when I travel, I usually at the end of the trip, I'm like, oh yeah, I could keep traveling for like a long time. Like I don't feel the need to go home. But at the same time, I'm still somehow a homebody. And I think that's more of a vibe than a physical location. So, because your tent becomes your home, you don't feel like you're not home because you're just hanging out in your bed. But yeah, I miss my people. I said on a couple of my videos, on the hard days, like I would picture what it would feel like to hug each person. And I pictured what it would feel like coming back to camp and seeing them and seeing the property. So yeah, those are the questions I'm going to answer in this video. Turns out it wasn't really any shorter than the last section, but you guys liked the last one, I guess. So this length is fine. I'm going to answer the last, I think I have like 7 more questions in the last section, so that one will actually be shorter. And maybe I'll film the next part right now like I originally planned. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll eat some dinner first. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, see you later.